Well, it is almost time for the weekend. I know it's a soggy day for us, but hey, it's looking great for this weekend, so let's find out what's going on, of course, with Artsbridge and Joe Oliverio. Welcome in.
Thank you, Henry. It is great to be here. 43 events on the Artsbridge calendar.
That is a lot.
So a lot of things going on, and let's just get started with tonight.
Let's go.
From 6 to 7 p.m., an evening with Diane Anestis, medical uses of West Virginia herbs and plants. So come out and see how various herbs and the plants within West Virginia are used for medicinal purposes. That's at the Parkersburg Library on Emerson. Also Friday, Abstract Tree Find Time at the Parkersburg Arts Center. There's a $45 fee with that, but basically you're going to paint your very own impressionistic Christmas tree. Nice. And you'll get some help by Nicole Harris. She'll be running that session. Saturday, a couple craft shows going on.
Yeah.
Parkersburg South High School Fall Craft Festival and also the Fort Fry Christmas Craft Festival. So I think last weekend we had the Parkersburg High. This weekend we've got the Parkersburg South.
Yeah, take advantage of those craft shows if you need to get some Christmas shopping done.
Christmas shopping done. Best way to support local vendors and crafters and get some of that shopping done, as you said. True. And then Sunday night, the annual tree lighting at the Belpre Civitan Park. That's at 6 o'clock. Entertainment's going to be provided by the Belpre Elementary students. And then also you're asked to kind of bring some new scarves or gloves to give to the school system to kind of help kids in February and January when it
gets quite cold.
They may need some of those things. We've got live events all over the valley. Lafayette, Blennerhassett, Hotel Spa, Riviera, Adelphia, and Apollo Club, just to name a few.
A few out of the list of 43, you said?
43 events. And then we had our grand opening yesterday.
How was that?
It was amazing. There was probably about 50 people there coming through the area and looking at that. That's on the corner of 7th and Avery Street. I think our viewing audience gets to see inside that, some of the work that's been done by the staff, etc. Great turnout. All three chambers were there to help cut the ribbon. Parkersburg Chamber, Belpre Chamber, and Marietta Chamber of Commerce. So the board of directors was there as well as the staff. And like I said, it was just a nice event.
All over the Mid-Ohio Valley.
And as it says, connecting communities through creativity.
Yeah, like we said, especially with Lindsay, you guys have been on a roll this year, and we still got more to go.
We still have more to go. The Winter Music Series starts December 1st, so after Thanksgiving, Sundays, full speed ahead in the mall.
Full speed.
And where can they find all that information?
Obviously at the bottom of your screen.
Artsbridge on, there it is. Artsbridgeonline.org. Check it out, Mid-Ohio Valley, and have a great weekend.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a good weekend. But Joe, obviously, thank you so much for coming in. Hopefully we'll see you again another time. But we're going to be having more on Daybreak right after the break.